Hi guys. So I need some Bluetooth speakers, some good quality speakers on my PC. After I record videos, I want to be able to play them back and listen to the audio, if there's anything wrong with it and so on. And I've been doing that on a PC connected to a TV, but the speakers in the TV are less than desirable. So I want to be able to listen to them better, and I've decided that some good quality Bluetooth speakers will do the trick. Now, I went to my parts bin and I found some good quality speakers and a little power supply, and I actually had this little board in my supply as well. I bought this maybe, I don't know, 3-4 months ago. I can't actually remember the exactly when I got it, and it cost me between $4 and $5 if I remember correctly. But in any case, we will talk about that a little bit more later on, what the current prices are and all that kind of stuff. I went to my parts bin and I found this realistic speaker, and these are heavy cast iron or something cast metal things, and they work very well. They're very good quality. They used to be sold by Radio Shack, and I've had these at least 40 years. But so I figured I would use those. I've got several of those. I scrounged and found a 15-volt power supply, and this is the power cord for it. And I've got some speaker wire over here, which we'll be using. And this, I made up a little box a couple of years ago, I think now, on my 3D printer. I got a little design for that from one of those places like Thingiverse or whatever it is called. And I had it laying around and it seems to fit. A little bit longer than what it needs to be, but that's okay. Drilled some holes in the little back plate that goes in here, so cables can go through here. And I've written on there what the inputs there are for. There's a barrel jack on there. It's 9 to 24 volts, but if you use 4 ohm speakers, you can only go up to 12 volts. But I have 8 ohm speakers and I'm going to feed it with 15 volts, so that should work fine. It has a rotary control on there. That's not a potentiometer, which is good because potentiometers tend to go noisy. And of course it's got Bluetooth on there. Let's have a look at the little board and what is actually on there. Maybe we can isolate what those chips are. Okay, so this here is obviously the audio chip. Got AP3016D on it. Writing it down here, 3016D. And the other chip over here is obviously the you connect to the antenna over there, so that's obviously the Bluetooth chip, and it's probably a little microcontroller as well, I guess. Let me have a look. AC23BB 0F48725A4. Man, and they make these numbers any longer. JL on it. And the other one's got 202313 XY, but I think that is a date code. So let's have a look online if we can find out what these chips actually are. Okay, well, I have not been able to find any data sheets for those chips. So, and all I can determine is that it's a Class D amplifier. And Class D amplifiers are very efficient, and indeed I've run this thing before at full power and that chip doesn't even get warm, so must work. Anyway, let's continue here. The first thing I want to do is to double check this little barrel jack on there the positive needs to be in the middle. I'm just gonna plug this power supply in here, although like I said, maybe I don't have to. Let me see now. I zoom in on there. Oh yeah, the middle pin is positive, so it should just work fine. Okay, well in that case I don't have to turn it on and check it out. Next thing we're going to do is get our wires. Let's get some strip them. Alright, now these speakers, and I guess those little screw terminals here, could probably just use the wires, but what we're going to actually do is use some ferrules, or whatever you call those things. Let me get them. Okay, so these are the little ferrules I use for soldering wires and what have you. Now, let me see which is the smallest that I can put on there. Now, what we do is I've got two sets of pliers here. This one is hexagonal, and this one here is square. So it all depends on what you want to use them for. Mostly if you're clamping them down with a little screw, then square ones will work better because they'll have more surface area. Yeah, the grey ones go in there. Oh, actually I think they will fit. Yeah, they will fit. They do fit. So it'll give me a better connection. If I just put the wire in there, it can corrode and stuff like that. So let's have a look now. I think I'm going to actually, for those, I'm not going to use the hexagonal ones. Yeah, they're good. Open these up. Now this one is going to be the right one. And there's a white line on there. I'll use that as positive. So there's my little back plate here. I will use this hole. Going to be right, so that's going to be plus, and that's going to be minus. See if I can find a better screwdriver for that. Is it too big? It'll work. Good. So what I've done is I've mounted this little board on here. I put some brass inserts on there. Those are underneath the little feet there. And I screwed it down. This here is an auxiliary input. I've made a hole in the little board for it, but I don't expect to use that because I am using it using Bluetooth. The only problem we're going to have is I need to get this plug, that hole has to be enlarged, so that plug will go to there, but we can do that later on. Okay. They're tight. Okay. Oh, make sure it goes through the little hole here. All right. That takes care of the output. Put these aside for a bit. Now, the other end of these wires is to go into this speaker here, and that's also a let me see. I think I can use bigger ones for those. Yeah, that'll be a good size. For those, I'll use the other one. I'll use the square one because they are clamping on flat sides. So the idea is that, let me see now, the white wire would be positive and it would be negative. Yeah, makes a good contact. Okay, that's one done. I'll do the other one. I made these wires the same length because we want to have the same resistance, you know. Because the speakers are 8 ohms, but the wires no doubt have some resistance as well. And if I would make one shorter than the other one, so it would give me less resistance on one side than the other. This may not be desirable. Okay, so we've got the speaker wires done. Now, where's my reamer? This hole has to be made bigger so that the plug can fit through there. And I didn't think of that when I drilled them, so now I just have to make it bigger. Okay. unscrew. Now, normally one might put a switch on there to switch it on and off, but I don't need to do that because the power supply already has a switch, a little inline switch. So they will take care of that. That makes it more simple. Let me put this away, don't need that anymore. Oh, wrong screwdriver. So this one has 20 watts per side. The speakers are 40 watts. So that is well and truly okay. It's quite amazing when you think of it, that we have such miniaturization today that you can put it's like 40 watts in total, 20 per side, in such a little tiny box. And we don't even have to put a heatsink on it. 30 years ago or so, you would have had discrete components on there and probably one of those great big power transistors and a TO3 package on a heatsink. Not today. That's good, hey? Alright, let me get rid of some tools here. One speaker. Two speakers. Alright. We'll plug in the power supply. Turned on. Green light came on. So all things being equal, this should be on too. And according to my instructions here, let me go to the computer here. I think I've already paired it. I think it's that Jin-Yi thing over here. See now. Yeah, it's already connected. Okay.
Connect an I2S digital to analog converter with a loudspeaker and play sounds generated by the ESP32. Connect to an MP3 file on the internet and play it through the loudspeaker. Connect a Bluetooth loudspeaker to the ESP32. Show the waveform of signals in serial plotter. Connect an I2.
Turn the sound down.
To the ESP32. Stream the sound recorded by a tiny microphone to a browser somewhere in the internet.
Okay.
Let's start with the basics. The I2S or Inter-IC sound interface.
This is some I2S stuff that I was looking at to refresh my memory. But as I said, I didn't have to use it for this. This is a great success, I think. Okay, so just got one little control here. You can push it on and off. Let me check that.
It is similar to SPI and was already in.
Oh, interesting. It actually, when you push it, it actually turns the sound on and off. I mean, it plays the video.
1986 by Philips.
Ah, that's kind of useful. All right, so I bought this little board a few months ago for between $4 and $5, and I probably got it on AliExpress, but I'm not 100% sure anymore. But in any case, if you look at that little board now, they're available in various different places, and Amazon actually has it, but just a few days ago I looked at it and they were $12 and something, and now they are suddenly $20 with a $5 delivery, so that's like 25 bucks. So it looks like, you know, these tariffs and everything are having a real impact on Amazon. But if you go to AliExpress, they have gone up because, as it says over here, includes import charges. So they are now $7.49. Still kind of reasonable, I guess, but they are still, you know, they've gone up, you know, at least $3.50 because of the tariffs, import duties. And Banggood doesn't have the little ones. There are some cousins of these things that are actually 50 watts instead of 40 watts. They're a little bit different. They have a volume control on the top, as you can see on this bare board one. But looks like they normally would sell them for just like a new user bonus, but I'm not a new user. I think they sell for about $9 with $4 shipping. That would be reasonable, but there's no indication here whether you would have to pay import duties on those, so that's a little bit suspect. And I looked on Temu, they don't have them at all. So, but I think this is still a good place, a good way to get it. I think for about $7.50 plus some tax, $8 or something. In any case, that's what we got to live with nowadays. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll be doing some more projects soon. See you guys later. Bye bye.